I've got quite good muscles. Look at those. I've walked a long way. Have they ever taken a white person before? No.
They said they used to see the white people coming back. They never had a chance to take someone across the desert.
Well, it wasn't a no, and maybe they were curious to see how an Englishman would do. Sugi had warned me about the Tubu Reserve. If a Tubu woman loves you, he said, even if she's ready to die for you, she'll never show it. While their camels rested, the women set about getting that most vital commodity for desert journeys, water. Dibella is situated on an underground aquifer, though no wells have been sunk here. But all you needed to do to get fresh water was dig. Seeing it ooze from the sand only a metre or so below the surface seemed like a miracle. Ah, let's see. It's a bit yellow. Ooh, but fresh. Beautiful. Cool and... yeah, it's good. On the eve of heading in to the most remote part of the Sahara, the seriousness of our journey really began to dawn on me. It was 3 days' walk to the next water source. Later that day, Sugi gave me a present for comfort in the Tenere. My very own Tubu outfit. Brilliant. Thanks. I must put them on immediately. It was time, he said, to get properly dressed for the desert. Bonsoir, tout le monde. Bonsoir. Is this a better outfit? Yeah? Tubu? Good. Just what I wanted to hear. Now I was dressed for the heat like a local, but the nighttime temperatures in the winter months can drop to freezing. Finding firewood in a barren wasteland is not always easy. The Tubu are experts at recycling. Was there no end to the camel's usefulness? Does the camel dung presumably burns more slowly, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's saying that when you cross, the only route is this.
Is this, yes. Camels are so efficient at conserving moisture that their dung emerges practically ready for the fire. Tomorrow morning it'd be time to pack up and leave Dibella. Ahead of me lay 5 days of walking across an ocean of sand, accompanied only by 32 camels, Sugi, and a bunch of girls. I'd finally traded in my air-conditioned Jeep for a camel. Ahead of me lay 150 kilometres of the Tenere. If a 6-year-old could do it, I'd certainly have to give it a go. I gave up trying to prove myself after an hour of walking, by which time I was pretty knackered. But I was at the head of the caravan and I looked round and all the women were riding. So I thought, okay, so that, I'm getting on as well. Sugi, however, I think wants to walk all the way because he doesn't want to be thought of as a weak guy. So we'll see how long he lasts. The Tenere had been described to me as a land of fear, an uninhabited wasteland, and a place with no life. The days began innocently enough, but by 8 a.m. the heat was already starting to build. We had started at 6 a.m, and after 5 hours the desert was starting to take its toll, and the women called a halt. First 2 hours, quite pleasant. Good temperatures, light breeze. walk in the park. Last 3 hours rather less so. It's very hot and I'm zonked. And I'm glad we stopped. In the midday heat, building shade was an urgent priority. Hey presto, instant shade in the desert, huh? Ça va? Ça va? Ça va, Isha? Yeah, I'm ça va too. We're all ça va. Okay. Tubu society has strict rules about when and where men and women can mix. Even in the middle of nowhere, it was culturally inappropriate for Sugi to sit in the tent with the women. Luckily, they made an exception for me. Sugi?
Yeah.
Could you ask the women how they think I did this morning?
You know chini. But I can't chini. You was a very strong guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
Oh, good, yeah.
This was a great compliment, as they told me it was a difficult and dangerous route. The nomads who crisscross this desolate landscape constantly exchange information, where there might be pasture or which route is best. This camping spot had been chosen because these meagre tufts provided lunch for the camels. How the women navigated in this featureless void was a mystery to me. Without them, I'd have stood no chance at all. Accuracy was crucial. A few hundred meters in the wrong direction could mean missing a waterhole, and in this heat, a day without water means almost certain death. Sugi told me that when they weren't following the tracks of another caravan, the women relied on the sun and the orientation of the dunes. Although the sand is always shifting, the winds of the Tenere are prevailing northeasterlies, and the dunes, therefore, lie along this axis. After dark, of course, they could use the stars which filled the clear Saharan skies. The mountains are getting closer, Sugi. I don't think they are a mirage. After 3 days walking, we saw our next destination on the horizon, Zubabba, an oasis in the middle of the Tenere. As we got closer, the dunes got higher and the sand softer and harder to walk on. Even the camels were struggling. It was 2 hours ago that we first saw that mountain.
2 hours of pain, of hunger. 2 hours look like 2 years.
Yeah. Oh. 2 years. But amazingly, I think my camel is more tired than I am.
Yeah, I think.
I've had to be whispering sweet nothings into his ear for the last hour, saying, "Oh, baby, when you get there, that grass is going to taste so sweet and succulent. There'll be more water than you could ever dream of drinking." I think I was starting to hallucinate in the insane midday heat. Water becomes the holy grail after 3 days of nothing but sand. Oh, there's a hole in my bucket. Quick, out of the way, stupid camel. Ow! Yeah, well, I'm trying to do this for you. Not you, you've got some. Out of the way. Camels first, people second. I was beginning to think like a nomad. That's heavy. God, it's full. Oh. This one's for us, Sugi. What do you think? Go ahead. Wash your hands first. Yeah, very sensible, Sugi. A camel can last for 7 days without water, But when it badly wants to drink, it can guzzle 100 litres of water in a matter of minutes.
Go and see some Tubu women, I thought. Bunch of dames with daggers who wander across the sand seas of the Tenerife. Oh boy, they are seriously tough. I don't think I've come across anyone who could survive that sort of extreme. And although they've started calling me Tubu, so in a way I guess I'm sort of half man, half Tubu now. Oh, it's taken it out of me to sort of win my spurs in their eyes.
I'd noticed that the women drank very little as we walked. Their secret seemed to lie in the tea, containing fistfuls of sugar, which they made at every opportunity. The settlement of Zubabba was the remotest inhabited place I'd ever been to. 6 families live here, surrounded by hundreds of square kilometres of nothing but sand. Popping out for a pint of milk is not an option. It's at least a 2-day walk to visit your nearest neighbour. But as I was learning, the people who live in this desert are extremely resourceful. Mr. Chegu was born in Zubabba and wanted to show us his pride and joy, his garden. It hadn't actually rained in Zubabba for 3 years, but they still had well water and plenty of camel dung. As a result, he had astonishing beds of tomatoes, melons and aubergines. I really didn't expect to find a thriving garden in the middle of the Tenerife.
Oh, it's a miracle that I told you first time.
You were right, Siggy.
Yeah.
A miracle is the appropriate word. It's extraordinary. Beautiful. I got the feeling that a captive audience was a great novelty here, and they were going to make the most of it. They hadn't had many visiting entertainers either.
Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes, and eyes and ears and mouth and nose. Head, shoulders, knees and toes. You were late.
After just one night in Zubabba, we set off once again. We still had 2 long days before we reached Bilma, but I felt we were on the home stretch. The desert, however, had one last surprise in store for me. The wind was starting to pick up. I had a horrible moment's flashback to my time on the roof in Agadez all those weeks before. A sandstorm in the Tenerife. Be careful what you wish for. This is the land of the Harmattan wind, which scoops up tons of desert grime and shovels it out to smother the skies over West Africa.